You already know the word. You use it without thinking about it. A titan of industry, a titan of the screen. We named a ship after them, and it sank. We named a metal after them, and it refuses to bend. They were not monsters. They were not giants. That is the very first thing that almost everyone gets wrong about them. They were beautiful. They were exactly the size of gods, no larger. They ruled the entire universe for one long age, and then they lost all of it. A father who buried his own children inside the body of the earth because he could not stand the sight of them. A mother who shaped a blade out of gray flint and asked her sons which one of them was brave enough to use it. A king who swallowed his newborn children whole, one after another, to keep a prophecy from ever coming true. A war in the sky that burned for 10 unbroken years. Mountains thrown like pebbles, the sea itself boiling, and a prison so deep beneath the world that a falling anvil would need 9 full days to reach the bottom of it. These are the Titans, the first rulers of the cosmos, the gods who came before the gods you think you know. Hesiod names 12 of them, 6 brothers and 6 sisters, born of the earth and the starry sky, and behind them a second generation, the sun, the moon, the dawn, and the one who stole fire and gave it to us. Here is the single thing I want you to see by the end of this. The Titans were never the villains of the story. They were an older order of the world, and their fall is a myth about one universe being replaced by another. So we go back before Olympus, back before the thunderbolt was ever forged, back to when there was nothing at all. In the beginning, the Greeks said, there was chaos, not disorder as we use the word, a yawning gap, an emptiness with no floor. Out of that gap came Gaia, the earth, broad and sure and solid, the ground beneath everything that would ever stand. And Gaia, entirely alone, with no husband and no help of any kind, brought forth a sun to cover her on every side. Uranus, the sky, the starry heaven stretched from horizon to horizon, wrapped tight around the earth, her equal and her creation. Then Gaia took her own son as her husband. Earth and sky joined in the dark, and the empty world began to fill. From that union came the first great powers of the universe, 6 sons and 6 daughters. The Greeks called them the Titanes, the Titans. But earth and sky had other children too, and at those children their father could not bear to look. 3 cyclopes, each with a single wheel of an eye set in the middle of the forehead, smiths, the makers of thunder, and 3 creatures more terrible still, the 100-handers, 50 heads apiece, and 100 restless arms each. Uranus looked at them, and he hated them. And so, as each one was born, he hid it away out of sight. He pressed them back down into the body of the earth, into a secret place, and would not let them into the light. But Gaia is the earth. Her children were buried alive inside her own body. She groaned and strained and could not rest. So she made a plan. She created gray flint, hard and cold, and out of it she shaped a great jagged sickle. She gathered her 12 together and told them what their father had done to their brothers. Then she asked for a volunteer. Fear held them. Not one of the great Titans would speak. The sky was their father, and the sky was always watching. Then the youngest of them all stood up, the boldest of them, the most dangerous of them. His name was Cronus. He took the sickle out of his mother's hands. I will do it, he said. I do not love him either. That night the sky came down over the earth, as he always did, and Cronus was lying in wait for him. What happened next is one of the most brutal images in all of myth. The sun struck, and the father was unmade. Uranus was torn away from Gaia forever. The sky recoiled upward in agony, and it never lay upon the earth again. That is why there is a space between the ground and the heavens. The open air you are breathing is a wound, and where the drops of the sky god struck the earth, new powers came up out of the ground, terrible ones. The Erinyes, the Furies, who hunt without rest and without mercy anyone who spills the blood of their own family. The giants came from those same drops. Remember them, they matter later, and nearly everyone alive confuses them with the Titans. And where the sickle sank at last into the sea, the water foamed white, and something impossibly beautiful rose out of it. Aphrodite, goddess of love and desire, born out of the ruin of the sky. Beauty coming straight out of an atrocity. And as he fell, Uranus gave his sons a name, and with it a curse. He called them the straining ones. Because they had strained beyond every limit, he said, and because retribution would come looking for them in its own time. It is a pun in Greek, straining and vengeance. Their very name is a promise that they are going to lose everything. That is what a Titan really is, not a giant, not a monster, a god who overreached and who will one day pay for it. And now, with the sky broken open and driven back, those 12 inherit a universe. So let us meet them. Oceanus, the eldest, and not a sea god as you picture one. He is a vast river circling the whole flat earth. Every stream, every spring, every current on the map is his child. He is the horizon, where the water bends away and ends. His wife and sister is Tethys, mother of the waters. Between them, 3,000 river sons and 3,000 ocean daughters. Remember Oceanus. When the great war comes, he will do something none of his brothers does. He will stay out of it. Hyperion. The name means the one who goes above. He is the Titan of heavenly light itself. And he is not the sun. He is the principle behind the sun. The plain fact that there is any brightness in the world at all. Light before there were lamps. He married his sister Thea, whose name means simply the goddess. She is the gleam in gold, in silver, in polished gems. Coeus, Titan of the questioning mind and of the axis of the north, the pole around which the entire night sky turns. His wife is Phoebe, the bright one, Titaness of prophecy, and one of the early keepers of the great oracle at Delphi. Delphi passed from Gaia to Themis to Phoebe, and only then to Apollo. He inherited that oracle. He did not found it. Coeus and Phoebe are the grandparents of Apollo and Artemis. The prophecy in that famous family came down to them from Titans. Creus, the most obscure of the 6 brothers. Almost no myths of his survive at all. A Titan of the constellations and of the measured turning year. Iapetus, Titan of mortal life and of its limits. The ancestor, the Greeks believed, of the entire human race. He married an ocean daughter named Clymene, and their 4 sons will end up on opposite sides of the war that is coming. From Iapetus came Atlas, and from Iapetus came Prometheus, 2 of the most famous names in all mythology. They were brothers. Now the daughters. Themis. She is divine law, not written law, but custom, order, the deep sense of how a thing is rightly done, rules older than any king. She held the oracle at Delphi after Gaia, and one day she will give Zeus a warning that quietly saves his throne. Mnemosyne. Memory. To a people who wrote almost nothing down, she was the library, The law, the history, the song, the entire past. She lay with Zeus for 9 nights and bore the 9 muses. Every song you have ever loved comes down from a Titan, which leaves the 2 who matter most of all, Rhea, and her husband, who is also her youngest brother, Cronus. Rhea is the great mother, the flow of things, Titaness of motherhood, of ease, of generation, the one who keeps life moving. She married Cronus, as the Titans always married their own siblings, and she would suffer for that marriage more than anyone alive. And Cronus, king of the Titans, the one who took up the sickle, the one now sitting on the throne of heaven, understand one thing clearly. Cronus is not Kronos. He is not Father Time, and he never was. That is a later mistake. It came from a similar-sounding Greek word 1,000 years afterward, and it gave us the old man with the scythe and the hourglass. The real Cronus is a harvest god, god of the ripe grain and of the curved blade that cuts the standing crop down. And under his rule came what the Greek poets called the Golden Age, and they meant that word completely, literally. Men lived like gods, they said. No labor, no sorrow, no old age. The earth gave its fruit freely, without any plowing at all. They feasted, and when they died it was like falling asleep. Hold that beside everything else, the tyrant of this story ruled the happiest age the world would ever see. But the throne itself was cursed. As he fell, Uranus had promised his son exactly one thing. As you overthrew your father, so your own child will one day overthrow you. That was the price of the crown. And Cronus could never unhear it. Every night on the highest throne in the universe, the old god's voice came back. So when Rhea bore their first child, Cronus took the newborn out of her arms, and he swallowed it whole. Not killed, swallowed, alive and undying, and sealed inside their own father in the dark where nobody could reach them. Hestia first, then Demeter, then Hera, then Hades, then Poseidon, 5 gods buried alive inside a god. Rhea watched it happen 5 times over and said nothing, and then she was pregnant a 6th time, and she broke. She went to her own parents, to Gaia the earth, and to what remained of Uranus the sky, and she begged them for a plan. They sent her away in secret to the island of Crete, and there, in a cave on a dark mountainside, she bore Zeus. She left the infant hidden in that cave. Then she walked back to her husband in heaven with empty hands, almost empty. She had wrapped a stone in swaddling clothes, and she carried it exactly as if it were her newborn son. And Cronus, king of the universe, the god who unmade his own father, took the bundle from her and swallowed a rock. It is an absurd image, and the Greeks knew it, the tyrant of heaven, undone by a mother and a piece of cloth. In the cave, the infant Zeus was fed on the milk of a goat and on wild honey taken from the rocks. And whenever he cried, armored spirits called the curettes danced around the cradle, hammering their spears against their shields. The din of that dance drowned out the crying of the child, so that his father, listening from heaven, heard nothing at all. Zeus grew up hidden. He grew up angry, and when he was grown, he went back for the family he had never met. He forced his father to bring up everything he had swallowed. The stone came first, then 5 full-grown gods alive. And that stone, the rock that saved the world, was set up at Delphi. Visitors were still shown it centuries later. But before the war breaks, we have to meet the second generation, the children of the Titans. And here, a warning. The sources are slippery. Some of these are called Titans. Some are only the children of Titans. Hesiod, our oldest source, keeps the title for the 12 alone. Later writers use it loosely for the whole enormous family. So when you hear that Helios is a Titan, that is true in the loose sense and false in the strict one. Helios, son of Hyperion and Thea, the sun itself, not a symbol of the sun, the actual burning disk in the sky. Every morning he climbs into a chariot pulled by 4 fire-breathing horses and drives it in a blazing arc across the world. And he sees everything. Again and again in myth, when a crime is done in the open, Helios is the witness who tells. Here is a correction worth carrying with you. Apollo is not the original sun god. Helios is. Apollo took that role centuries later. Selene, his sister, the moon, pale and crowned, driving a silver chariot behind 2 horses, all the way across the night. She loved a mortal shepherd, Endymion, and had him given eternal sleep so that he would never grow old and never die. And every night she comes down to the cave where he lies dreaming and simply looks at him. That is the whole story. Eos, the dawn, the 3rd child of Hyperion, rosy-fingered, opening the gates of the east so her brother can drive through them. Her love story is crueler. She begged Zeus to make her mortal lover immortal and forgot to ask for eternal youth as well. So he aged and shrank and withered and could not die. That is what tends to happen when a god loves a human. Leto, daughter of Coeus and Phoebe, gentle, dark-robed, and hunted across the whole of the world while heavily pregnant. No land would shelter her because Hera's jealousy terrified them all. Only one floating island dared to take her in. There she bore Apollo and Artemis. 2 of the greatest Olympians of all are the grandchildren of Titans on their mother's side. Asteria, Leto's sister, the starry one. Zeus pursued her, and she refused him and threw herself down into the sea. She became that floating island, the one that sheltered her sister. She escaped a god by turning herself into a place. Her daughter is Hecate, goddess of magic, of the crossroads, of the borderline between worlds, a burning torch in either hand. And Hecate is the great exception. She is of Titan blood, and yet Zeus honored her above all the other gods. He took nothing away from her. She kept her power in the sky, on the earth, and in the sea, a Titan who won. And then the sons of Iapetus, 4 brothers. The coming war is going to split them straight down the middle. Atlas, the strongest. Menoetius, the most violent. Prometheus, whose name means forethought. And Epimetheus, whose name means afterthought. Prometheus thinks before he acts. Epimetheus thinks afterwards, when it is far too late. Together they are a joke about human nature. And Prometheus is the cleverest being in the universe. Cleverer, in the end, than Zeus. He is about to prove it. Now, the war. The Greeks called it the Titanomachy, and it is not a battle. It is a decade. On one side, Cronus and his brothers, holding the peak of Mount Othrys. On the other, Zeus and his freed siblings on Olympus. 10 years. Neither side could break the other. Immortals cannot die, so nothing they did to each other ever ended anything. Then Gaia, the grandmother, the earth, who has now betrayed 2 kings of heaven, gave Zeus the answer he needed. Down in the pit lay the children Uranus buried, and Cronus never freed. The Cyclopes and the 100-handers. Free them, she said, and you win. So Zeus went down into the dark and broke their chains himself, and the Cyclopes, in gratitude, went straight to their forge. They made 3 weapons that changed the shape of the universe. For Hades, a helmet of darkness that makes its wearer invisible. For Poseidon, the trident that shakes the earth and the sea. And for Zeus, the thunderbolt. Until then, Nobody had ever held lightning in his hand. Then the 100-handers came up into the light, 3 of them, 50 heads and 100 arms on every one. They tore up 300 boulders at once and threw them together. The sky went dark with flying mountains. Zeus threw everything he had. The sea boiled, the forests burned, the earth cracked and shrieked from one end to the other. Hesiod says the crash was as if the sky itself had fallen down onto the earth. The old world was coming apart. And the Titans broke. After 10 years of it, at the very last, the elder gods gave way. But look closely at who was never on that battlefield. Oceanus never took up arms. He stayed at the edge of the world. Themis, law itself, crossed over to Zeus and counseled him. So did Mnemosyne. Overhead, the sun and the moon simply kept driving. And Prometheus, the son of a Titan, read the situation coldly, saw exactly who would win, and fought for the young gods. This is what people miss. It was not gods against Titans. It was one old order splitting apart from the inside. The defeated were dragged down and hurled into Tartarus. And Tartarus is not the underworld. That distinction matters. Hades is where the human dead go. Tartarus lies far below Hades. It is a pit underneath the pit. Hesiod measures it. Drop a bronze anvil from heaven. It falls 9 days to reach the earth, and 9 more to reach Tartarus. Down there, behind a wall of bronze and a bronze gate, the Titans were chained fast in the roots of the world. And the 100-handers, who had been prisoners themselves for so long, were set at that gate as the jailers, forever. Atlas got something worse. He had led the Titan armies in the field, and Zeus wanted him where everyone could see him. So he was set at the western edge of the world, and the entire weight of the sky was laid onto his shoulders, not the earth. That is the most common mistake made about him. He does not carry a globe. He holds up heaven. He is the pillar that stops the sky from crashing back onto the earth. He is the wound of the sickle made permanent. Once Heracles came to him, wanting golden apples, and offered to take the weight of the sky for a little while. Atlas set down the heavens, felt the sun on his back, and tried to walk away free. Heracles tricked him into taking it back. That is the saddest moment in the cycle. A god who tasted freedom for a single afternoon and lost it to a trick. Menoetius, the violent brother, was struck down by a thunderbolt in the battle and hurled straight into the darkness below. And Prometheus, who had chosen the winning side, was punished anyway, because he loved us more than he feared Zeus. Zeus intended to wipe out the human race and start again from nothing. Prometheus would not allow it. He stole fire from the gods, hid it inside the hollow stalk of a fennel plant, and carried it down to us. Fire is not just warmth. Fire is metal, and bread, and light, and every craft there is. He handed us civilization itself. Zeus chained him to a mountain in the Caucasus, and every day an eagle came and tore the liver out of him. Every night it grew back. Every morning the eagle returned. He hung there for generations, and he never once apologized. The playwright Aeschylus made him the first rebel, the one who suffers for humanity and will not bow. That image never left us. In the end, Heracles shot the eagle, and Prometheus walked free. Even Zeus, given enough centuries, relented. And some poets let them out. Pindar says Cronus himself was freed, and made king of the Isles of the Blessed, where the best souls go. The tyrant of the Golden Age was handed a paradise to rule. Even the Greeks could not leave him down in that pit. Now let us clear away the 2 great mistakes that follow the Titans everywhere they go. First, The Titans are not the giants. You will find that error in films, in games, in headlines, almost everywhere. The giants were born from the blood of Uranus. They fought a completely different war, far later, against the Olympians. That war is the Titanomachy, and the gods could not win it alone. A prophecy said they needed a mortal to finish it. So Heracles fought beside them. Different enemy, different war, different rules. The Titans were never in that fight at all. Second, the Titans were not colossal. Greek art shows them as armed and beautiful gods, the same size as the Olympians. The mountain-sized Titan belongs to us. Titanic, titanium, a titan of industry. We made their name mean size, then read it back into the myth. So what were they, really? Look at what they govern. Ocean, light, memory, law, harvest, the stars, prophecy. Those are not personalities. Those are the pillars of a universe. The Titans are the world understood as a set of forces. The Olympians are not that at all. Zeus, Hera, Apollo, they are persons. Jealous, petty, magnificent, endlessly arguing persons. And that is what the Titanomachy really is. One model of the cosmos being violently replaced by another. The world stops being an impersonal machine of light and water and law. It becomes a family, a politics, a story. The Titans lose because the Greeks needed gods you could argue with, gods who could be bribed and wronged and loved. But the older powers never really go away. The sun still rises, and in the oldest telling it is still Helios driving it. Memory still gives us the poem. Law still calls the council to order, and out at the edge of the world, Atlas still holds the sky. And that is why the losers are the better story. Cronus knows exactly how he will fall, because he did it first himself. Atlas carries the weight forever for choosing wrong one single time. Prometheus is tortured for the crime of pitying us. There is no comfort in any of it, and no cheap villain, only a world that changed hands, and the ones who were standing there. 12 gods, born of earth and sky. They ruled the golden age, they lost the heavens, and the Olympians took everything they had. But it is still the Titans who carry the weight, and we still say their name every single time we mean something far too vast to hold.